I'm so happy. In the middle of the night, I witnessed a scene in the garage where James and Lily were playfully engaged in the back seat of a car. Faced with this unbelievable sight, I locked the two of them in the garage and headed to my parents' house. I wanted to show those two, who had been mocking me, a real hell, as much as possible. After returning home, I explained the situation to my parents and a certain person, asking for their help in my revenge. Everyone agreed with my plan, and I was determined to show James and Lily the hell they deserved. My name is Summer Young. I'm a newlywed. I met my husband James during our student days. We were classmates in high school and interacted a few times through committee work. But that was the extent of our relationship. I never imagined that someone like him would approach me as an adult. I seriously love you, Summer. Our relationship began just after graduating from high school. James started interacting with me during our senior year, and we began as friends. Even though we hardly knew each other, he aggressively pursued me immediately after graduation. I couldn't understand why someone as popular with the girls as him during our student days would be interested in someone like me. When I asked him why, he simply said, "Because I fell in love," without giving any concrete reasons. After 6 months of suspicion, finding no real reasons, I was swayed by his words and accepted his proposal. I wouldn't go through all this trouble just to date and dump you. Can't you trust me at some point? I truly love you, Summer. Hearing those words, I started to consider trusting him. But as a novice in love, it took courage for me to date someone as popular as him. That's when I turned to my older sister, Lily, for advice. Lily was beautiful and the Madonna of her class, as I had heard from her classmates. With her extensive experience in romance, I thought she could help me find the answer. She encouraged me, saying, "No playboy would spend 6 months just to date someone. He must be serious about you. Why don't you accept it?" Encouraged by Lily's words, I decided to date him. For the first year of our relationship, James was truly kind to me. He treated me like a princess, taking me to places I liked and always preparing surprises for every anniversary, birthday, and event, giving me a dreamlike time. For me, shy in love, all these were dreamy events, and I was glad I had the courage to date him. Until the day our wedding was decided. What's with this sturdy room? I like cleanliness. You know what will happen if you turn this place into a mess, right? We decided to get married and bought a new house. James worked as a laborer in his father's company, earning around $40,000 a year. We didn't have the financial means to buy a new house. But James, who disliked used things, persuaded me to buy a new house. He found managing anything troublesome and left all household matters to me, living freely. I wish you'd at least help with the cleaning since it's your house too. I have a job too, so let's support each other. You can at least clean up, right? I worked as a nurse with irregular shifts. In comparison, James usually spent more time at home and earned over $30,000 less than I did. Despite the significant differences in time and money, he refused to help with anything. I took care of all the household expenses, while James only used his salary for his own entertainment and consumables. Before we got married, he never behaved like this, often saying, "Let's support each other and do our best." But once we started living together, James completely changed. It was almost like I was supporting a freeloader. I tried getting him to cook, but both the taste and his knife skills were disastrous. The house became a mess, and I gave up on letting him cook. If he did the laundry, he would mix everything together, causing clothes to shrink or colors to bleed, far from a level I could trust. Even my mother-in-law had concerns, but I never imagined it would be this bad until I saw it firsthand. You were the one who told me not to do housework. And now what? When you start getting called out, you make it seem like it's my fault. Huh? At first, I patiently taught him how to do housework, but James was short-tempered and quick to anger. Just mentioning house chores would make him react this way, so, frightened, I once said, "I'll try to do it myself as much as possible." But I'm only human. Nursing is many times harder than people think, and my physical strength has declined compared to my early 20s, making it tough to balance work and home. Moreover, the household chores have more than doubled compared to when I lived alone. It's like I could use a helping hand from anyone, even a cat. Is it so wrong to ask for help in such a situation? Even though I'm not asking for everything, James gets angry and aggressive when his weaknesses or dislikes are pointed out. Once, when I bravely confronted him, he threw objects at the wall and nearly injured me. I became scared of him and thought about divorce, but when I did, he would suddenly become kind, loving me as if he had changed into a different person.
Sorry, Summer. I'll never do that again. I'll cherish you for real. Please don't leave me. I really love you. I can't live without you.
Having rarely been needed by anyone, I couldn't dismiss such dependency from James and couldn't think of any option but to forgive him. He was the first person I truly fell in love with. I couldn't imagine finding a better relationship after him. This belief was reinforced by many things said by Lily and James while we were dating.
No one but me would put up with a woman like you. If you break up with James, you might end up alone for the rest of your life.
Under the influence of such words, I was completely controlled by him at that time. Even when I thought about breaking up, memories of our time together came flooding back, and I couldn't abandon James, who needed me, despite his terrible treatment. It was a classic case of the one in love losing. I was so drowned in James' manipulative tactics that the phrase seemed fitting.
I want to support you too, but I'm just really bad at housework, and I'm counting on you for it. Don't say such sad things, please keep up the good work. I'll try to do what I can too.
He shouted angrily, but seeing how scared I was, he approached and hugged me, gently stroking my hair as if to calm me down. James knew how to use both the carrot and the stick, always needing me at the moment when I thought it was all over. For me, a shy and introverted person, being needed and loved was a way to affirm my existence. James was observant and had excellent communication skills, adept at manipulating people at critical moments. With my low self-esteem, I was often bullied during my student days. James exploited my situation, saying things like "I'm the only one who needs you," and "I love you, even your flaws." I didn't realize at the time that these were tactics to keep me hooked. It never even crossed my mind. Until that day, that fateful moment. As our first wedding anniversary approached, with encouragement from my parents, we decided to have a wedding celebration.
Your sister had a traditional wedding, but what about you, Summer? Maybe a church wedding would be nice?
The decision to have a wedding celebration was partly influenced by my parents' suggestion. They always cared deeply for me, knowing I was a kind-hearted person, but often too self-sacrificing, putting others before myself. When I became a nurse, they were genuinely concerned if I could handle it.
You're too kind-hearted, always putting yourself last to help others in pain. That's not good, you know? You need to take better care of yourself.
While they worried, they supported my decision to be a nurse more than anyone. Their concern extended to my marriage as well. My father, usually not one to meddle, wanted to have a serious talk with James for the first time, inviting him over.
Summer is our treasure. If anything happens to her, I won't forgive you. Are you prepared to take good care of her?
He even went as far as to intimidate James. But James, unfazed, earnestly pleaded for their permission to marry me.
I also want to see Summer in her wedding dress, so I'm thinking of looking for a church. I've been a hassle to Summer usually, so I want to make her special day beautiful.
Lost in these memories, James's voice brought me back to reality. Seeing his troubled smile, my heart fluttered. I had never thought he felt that way. The difference between what he said and his usual behavior was part of the reason. Not just on special days, I wished he would be kind every day. Just eating together, watching a movie in the living room, and laughing together would make me so happy. Why does James say such awful things? Does he really love me? Does he need me? With little experience in relationships, I kept wondering if I was the problem, if there was something wrong with me. Thinking James didn't desire me because I lacked something, I convinced myself to work harder, suppressing any thoughts of confronting him. Contrary to my thoughts, my parents, having listened to James, looked at him with a gentle gaze, as if they were impressed.
You're lucky, Summer. You've got a good husband.
My parents thought of James as a good husband, unaware of everything. Of course, at that time, I thought the same.
Really, Summer is so lucky. She's not good at much besides housework. Are you sure Summer is enough for you, James?
Lily, who happened to be there, casually sat next to James. She placed her hand on his knee and leaned in with an upward glance, effortlessly flirting.
No.
That's not true at all. Lily, unlike me, was social and beautiful. She was always fashionable and sensitive to trends, wearing only branded items. Her husband, who apparently ran an IT company, had provided her with a lavish lifestyle, as if she had hit the jackpot. Lily always looked down on me, belittling me to elevate herself. But she was also skilled at being affectionate, a genius at manipulating me. At that time, I was unaware that I was being used by Lily, happily relying on her and enjoying her affection.
Summer, you really shouldn't let go of such a great husband so easily. Someone like you, with no real talents, is just a burden. Lily!
This kind of mockery was a daily occurrence for me. Using her cute face and tears as weapons, she alienated people from me. Everyone sided with Lily. The only exception was my parents. My mother, whenever Lily belittled me, always stepped in and scolded her. Lily would quickly leave the scene when she realized it was to her disadvantage, but my heart remained hurt. My joy was ruined by Lily's single comment. James, along with my parents, apologized, but he just laughed it off, pretending not to mind. Deep down, I hoped for some kind words of concern, but I never had the courage to voice such presumptuous thoughts. I blamed myself, accustomed to resolving my own issues. And then, the day before our wedding. The ceremony was set to be at a church, and that day, Lily had come to visit my house. She said it was closer to the venue from my place. Well, it's getting late, let's call it a night. I'll borrow your bed. After dinner and a bath, the three of us enjoyed some drinks. It was past 10 p.m., and tired from drinking, we decided to go to sleep. I was to sleep in the same bed as James, and Lily would sleep in my room. Around midnight, I suddenly felt the warmth vanish from the bed and woke up feeling cold. I looked around.
James?
It was autumn, a bit chilly for a night walk. Maybe he went to the convenience store? It was unusual for James to leave without saying anything, so I decided to look around. I first went to check the car in the garage.
No, James!
That's when I heard it. It sounded like Lily's voice coming from near the car. James's car was there, and it didn't look like he went to the convenience store. Thinking James must be nearby since Lily called his name, I walked towards the sound.
I'm so happy!
I found the two of them in the back seat, engaged in something. As I approached to speak, the next moment, I saw an unbelievable sight.
Lily, keep your voice down, please. I can't! Be gentle, James.
The two of them, naked, were in the midst of an intimate act. I was speechless at the sight, collapsing on the spot. They continued, oblivious to my presence, lost in each other. The car windows were open, perhaps because it was stuffy inside, letting in the cool night air. Their sweet moans and James's animalistic breaths were clearly audible. The sound was so irritating and nauseating, I hid and fought the urge to vomit. What was happening? What were Lily and James doing? Was this a dream? Was I having a nightmare? Unable to believe the scene before me, I kept denying reality. Unconcerned about me, the two continued, seeking each other passionately. Seeing James desire Lily in a way he never did for me cut deep into my heart. And then, I heard even more horrifying words from their mouths.
Still, it's like a dream. Being able to connect with Lily like this. James, you really do love me, don't you? You even told me before how you've admired me since our school days.
Hearing Lily's words, revealing this shocking fact, I was filled with surprise and confusion. James and Lily knew each other since their school days? But how could James have known Lily?
Lily was so dazzling at the cultural festival. I used Summer to get closer to you. I was devastated when I heard you were married.
James's words brought back a memory. I realized then that James had targeted me from that time, just to use me, and tears welled up from the shock.
But now, I'm connected with you like this. When you approached me, it felt like a dream. To think you'd suggest something this bad, you're really something else.
Hearing this, my surprise was evident. Their relationship started from Lily, who knew about James's feelings, and she instigated it. To be with Lily, who was married, James married me to become her brother-in-law, making it less suspicious for them to be close. Lily's husband was often away on business trips, and she was almost free to do as she pleased. James thought that by becoming Lily's brother-in-law, since she was almost free to do as she pleased, their relationship would be less suspicious. Reflecting on the past, he shared that this was his rationale for taking such actions. Hearing this unbelievable truth, I quietly moved away from the scene. Unable to hold back my tears, I ran to the front door and closed it behind me. Collapsing on the spot. The realization that they had been using me from the very beginning was unbearable. The thought that they had such intentions towards me was unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. I was filled with anger and hatred. The love I had was gone. Determined, I went to the garage where they were, with a key in hand. The garage was secured with a shutter, and the only entrance was locked. When I returned, they were exhausted and had fallen asleep in the back seat. Probably not expecting to be discovered until morning. Disgusted by their thoughtless actions, I slowly closed the shutter and locked it. Then, I headed to my parents' house nearby and broke down to them.
What happened, Summer? Why are you here at this time? And your clothes?
I had rushed over in my loungewear, causing my father to widen his eyes in surprise. My mother, worried, quickly let me inside. Both were awake, oddly, which made me wonder. They usually kept a regular schedule, so it was unusual for them to be up at this hour. Had something happened? As I walked in, I saw my brother-in-law, Lily's husband, sitting on the sofa. Good evening, Summer. What's wrong? Why are you dressed like that? He was a sincere and earnest man. Too good for Lily, probably deceived by her into marrying. I hesitated to tell him about the day's events, but he seemed to sense something. Did you hear it too? His words made my eyes widen in surprise.
Hear what?
This. He showed me a recording device, and the conversation played was exactly what I had overheard between James and Lily.
When you approached me, it felt like a dream. To think you'd suggest something this bad, you're really something else.
The recording was exactly what I had overheard between James and Lily earlier. Why do you have this? I asked, my voice rising in astonishment and agitation. My brother-in-law, looking troubled, began to explain. He found out about it 3 months ago when an employee of his company reported seeing James and Lily disappearing into a hotel district. After discovering the affair, my brother-in-law hired a detective to gather evidence of their infidelity. Today, knowing Lily was visiting my house, the detective closely monitored her and obtained this recording. At first, I thought if Lily could fill her loneliness with money, I wouldn't say anything. But involving James is different. You care for him so much, and to know they did this. I couldn't forgive them. My brother-in-law, who always took great care of me as if I were his real sister, could not bear to see me hurt because of those two. Just knowing that he thought this way was enough to bring some solace to my heart. I was collecting evidence to confront Lily about a divorce. And now that I have decisive proof, I came to talk to your parents. My parents looked pained, and my father even apologized to my brother-in-law. I'm sorry my daughter did such a thing. We are deeply ashamed as parents. Do whatever you need to feel satisfied. My mother said tearfully. Don't blame yourselves. It's not your fault. It's those two who used Summer and committed these terrible acts. Despite his own pain, my brother-in-law remained composed and comforted my parents. Then he turned to me. Summer, what do you want to do? I just want to sever ties with Lily, but I'm sure you need more closure. Yes. My wife seduced your husband. I want to support you in any way so you can find peace. Struck by my brother-in-law's intense gaze, I declared, I want to take revenge on them. I wanted to show those two, who had mocked me, the depths of hell itself. Overwhelmed by anger and frustration, I couldn't hold back my tears. Looking up at my brother-in-law, I expressed my true feelings for the first time, saying, I want them to experience despair. Leave the financial matters to me. I'll do whatever I can. How do you want to deal with them? Hearing this, I honestly voiced the proposal that had formed in my mind. Surprised at my own ability to conceive such a daunting plan. My brother-in-law, and even my parents, agreed to help upon hearing my plan. Thus, our family's plan for revenge began. Summer, what do you think you're doing? How dare you lock us up like this? 2 days later, James and Lily arrived at my parents' home, finally free from the garage. They were still in the same clothes from 3 days ago. Unwashed and smelling slightly sour. Lily's makeup was ruined, and both looked disheveled. Who's to blame for being locked up? Upon their arrival at my family home, James and Lily were raising their voices in shrill tones. I calmly faced them at the entrance. My composed demeanor seemed to infuriate them even more, escalating their anger. Shut up! Do you think you can talk to me like that? How could you lock us up and leave us for 2 days?
If the workers hadn't found us, what do you think would have happened to us? We come back to the house and there are strangers there, showing us some contract, saying it's not our house anymore. What the hell is going on? Explain yourself.
After they were locked up, with my brother-in-law's help, the garage was demolished. The house, which belonged to me, was emptied of all essentials and provided to an acquaintance as a rental. It was designed for eventual cohabitation with both our parents, so it was quickly rented out due to its accessibility features. James's belongings were haphazardly packed and sent to his family's home. Thanks to the people my brother-in-law called, the work was done quickly and efficiently. Could you spare us the noise and stench? Your screeching voice first thing in the morning is stress-inducing enough. I expressed my annoyance, my face twisted in disgust at their behavior. As James reached out to grab me in his anger, my brother-in-law stepped in, intercepting his hand and protecting me.
You. Really, you two are incorrigible. A man who readily resorts to violence against a woman, what kind of person are you? Aren't you ashamed? Why are you here? And why are Mom and Dad?
It's our family home, so of course, my parents would be there. But Lily was shocked for a different reason. Everyone who used to dote on her was now standing behind me, supporting me. She couldn't understand why no one was coming to her aid.
Haven't you realized the situation you're in? What do you mean?
James retorted, trying to free his hand. At that moment, my brother-in-law played the recording he had of them.
What? You've been recording us? But how, where?
They didn't have any personal items that could have been used for recording, and their phones were inside the house. At that point, they were clearly puzzled, wondering how. That's when my brother-in-law revealed a sly grin.
I've been aware of your affair for quite some time. That's why I hired a detective to gather conclusive evidence of your infidelity.
Lily's face turned pale upon hearing this. She had no idea her affair was known, let alone that a detective was following her. Witnessing the professionalism of the detective's work, Lily was left speechless, standing frozen as if everything before her had turned pitch black.
With such decisive evidence, I was surprised and couldn't help but laugh. That's illegal! You can't do that!
Yeah, we could report this to the police. Do you have that evidence? Trying to salvage the situation, the two attempted to intimidate my brother-in-law, but he was unyielding. Unfazed, he countered their threats with firm words, his resolute stance causing both James and Lily to recoil in fear. If you two, financially inferior to me, want to hire a lawyer and take me to court, I'll gladly accept the challenge. I can simply say I happened upon your affair and recorded it. If you want to fight me, gather evidence that can beat me first. Indeed, he was a shrewd business executive. His quick thinking was extraordinary. James and Lily, unable to respond, shifted their target to me.
You locked us up. That's a crime.
Do you have proof? What? Faced with the same question again, James faltered. Seizing the opportunity, I began to confront him with logical arguments.
You don't have evidence that I locked you up, do you? But there's evidence of your affair. It's recorded on the security camera of that shutter. A dirty video of you two getting into the car and doing unspeakable things.
Hearing this, their faces drained of color, and they began to back away in fear.
Your words, I believed in them for years. I thought you genuinely cared for me. But it was all an act, just to connect with Lily, just for your affair. No, Summer, please forgive me. I really did love only you. Me too. What happened with James was just a moment of weakness, it wasn't serious. I swear, please believe me. Forgive me.
Realizing their disadvantage, they immediately switched to begging for forgiveness. Clinging at our feet in a pathetic display, tears streaming down their faces.
Let go.
What?
Let go of me.
I yelled at James, while my brother-in-law pushed Lily away.
How could anyone forgive you two for what you've done? I'll never forgive you, no matter what. You can live with your regrets in hell.
My voice, filled with a fury they had never seen, frightened them, and they fled the house. My worried parents approached me, and my brother-in-law gently stroked my hair, praising my courage. At that moment, overwhelmed with relief, I broke down in tears. The painful days I had endured felt like a true hell. Clinging to memories, I had barely managed to endure, but I knew my breaking point was near. Ending that life before it broke me was a relief, and my emotions finally erupted. Thus, I had succeeded in my revenge against Lily and James. They fled to James's parents' house, but I had already explained the situation to them, so they were turned away. Furthermore, James's father, no longer wanting to employ such a miscreant, forcibly dismissed James from his job. Apparently, there had already been numerous reasons to fire James due to his problematic behavior at the company, so disowning him didn't take much time, as I later learned. Lily and my brother-in-law soon divorced. Despite Lily's pleas, she lacked the resources for a lengthy legal battle and had to accept the terms my brother-in-law laid out, including a significant alimony payment. The wedding, scheduled for the next day, was cancelled. Thanks to my brother-in-law's excellent lawyer, we managed to get a substantial amount of money from them, and now they're struggling to make ends meet. I explained the situation to those who were to attend the wedding. Everyone was shocked but offered their support and understanding. I had informed the neighbors about the situation with Lily and James, ensuring they didn't call the police during their 2 days locked in the shutter, which would have jeopardized our plan. The neighbors, who always liked me and saw Lily as the unpleasant sister, were on my side, leaving Lily and James ostracized in the community. I heard from friends that Lily and James, once living a lavish life as if on a golden carriage, had drastically changed their fortunes. Now struggling just to get by each day, they were leading a life of poverty and had become noticeably gaunt. 4 years later, I'm devoted to my work, and my brother-in-law is busy with his life. My parents are also living fulfilling days, constantly supporting my life and career. They encourage me to look forward, saying that when I meet someone good again, I should let them make me completely happy. Motivated by the hope of bringing joy to them one day, I've been focusing on improving myself.